Hello and welcome to sim.bc, where it is 16:15, so it's 4:15, and I am sitting inside a library today in one of the group rooms. Yay! I know, is structure even a word anymore? I mean, really? I said like, oh, this is going to be my place to record. No, this is going to be my place to record. And still, I'm just here and I'm sitting and having like an awkward eye contact with the guy who sits outside. I will just pretend that I'm in a Skype mail. Should you say that? Yes, yes. Oh, this is the worst. This is just like recording at home when we made this, like sitting in the bathroom or out on the balcony or in the hallway or something. This is just, it's crazy. I can't wait until Sunday, or Monday rather, when I can start recording in the morning before I go to work, I mean before I go to school. Anyway, so today we had quite an interesting lecture actually that ended 50 minutes early. That's why I can actually record now in between sessions, so to say, in between the different lectures, because we have a lecture today again at 45 minutes, and that's going to go on until 8:15 in the evening, after which we will try to go and eat something, and then I will try to go to the gym, because that's something I didn't do this morning because I have a bit of a throat ache, a bit of a burn in my throat. It's due to stress because of all the stress I have felt around my group. I think I haven't got that checked out, but that's my personal assessment. I've googled it, I know the symptoms. I'm basically a doctor. No, but yeah, so that's what I did, and that's what I think of it. So I'm going to try to go to the gym today. If I can't, I'm going to try and do it tomorrow morning. The thing is that the burn in the throat is worse in the morning, so well, we'll see how that turns out. Otherwise, we'll just wait until Wednesday and not try to stress it at all. Anyway, so the lecture today was actually quite an interesting one. It was all about sustainability, and he took up quite an interesting idea actually about the Kuznets curve, I think it's called. I'm going to try to have it on the screen yet again, and let's see. Let's try to put it on the board actually, like that. Yeah, this is going to be amazing if I can just add in a picture again. Otherwise, this is going to be quite weird because I don't have any pens. Otherwise, I could utilize a pen. Anyway. Basically, what he said that I thought was quite interesting was the fact that many countries, when it comes to, as you will be able to see, is that a firm belief is that when countries increase their output per capita, or their output overall, their carbon dioxide emission will decrease over time. So that's where you see in point A, for instance. I hope it's a point A picture. Anyway. In the beginning of the graph, let's say, it's a very steep increase in carbon dioxide emission, and then when it comes to the stagnation point, it stagnates. That's the point of returns, let's say, and then goes down again to the last point where it probably will end up, and then it will hopefully in the long run try to counteract carbon dioxide or carbon dioxide emission, CO2 emission. Yeah, that's how we're going to say it, CO2, not carbon dioxide. Double oxide. Anyway, so what he basically, this is a quite standard thing, but what he basically said was that this is not always the case, because if you take the top part B, if you take a case like Japan, for instance, you have that Japan wanted to have an all aluminum clean way of doing their. I'm just gonna move myself here. Yeah, now this is gonna be great. To have a clean way of presenting their aluminum production, which basically meant that instead of trying to find a new sustainable way of doing it, they just chipped it off to somewhere else. Yeah, that's a thing. And that's something that I quite didn't understand first, because I was like, oh yeah, of course, when it goes up to the top, it's going to be all the way down to the bottom, slide down, because people are going to reinvest in sustainable solutions. No, that's actually not the case. Well, it's the case in most sections, but in some sections it isn't, because when you come to that final point, sure, you start to develop sustainability, and that's why it shifts as well, but you also start to export your your more harmful, or not harmful, your more harmful production. You start to outsource it into different countries, and that's also why it goes down again from the stagnation points and goes down to the last kind of phase in the production. So that's because since you utilize your own natural resources, kind of in a way, you just not force, but you export all of your production, all your harmful production to somewhere else. Now, this is which I thought was a very interesting perspective. This guy, he's like putting silver bullets into into all of the old frameworks, if you know what I say, like all these werewolves kind of frameworks that has been around since 200 years ago. You know, Ricardo and Adam Smith and all of that. He's just like, we're gonna fix that, and trying to get a new perspective on it. So basically, the perspective he brought in was that you can actually export to production, which I know that many people probably know already, but it was new to me, and I thought, like, this is crisp, this is all good, this is amazing, in a way, because I wasn't taught that when I went through the curve the first time. And then he also took up the interesting discussion of having carbon dioxide emission in the society. And he said that, oh wait, is it carbon dioxide emission in the Kostov curve? Okay, I might have said it all wrong. But what I mean is that in the Kostov curve, the one that's on the y-axis is going down with time due to export in production. But I think it might not be CO2 emission, because CO2 emission was the only one that he said like was kind of a clear misconception and a clear evasion from the rule, so to say. The only one that's going away from the rule, and that is carbon dioxide, CO2 emission. Well, anyway, I'm gonna fix this in post-production. Am I right? You know, due to my technical expertise, we will see how much I will actually fix and how much I will actually stay the way it is. But you know, we'll see. We'll fix this. Yeah. Anyway, CO2 is supposed to be the one exception from the rule, due to when society increases and output increases as well, and the per capita increases, you're still going to use as much carbon dioxide CO2 emission as you did before, because it's just more people using cars, and this curve will not go down; it will just stagnate. And this is, of course, due to the perspective of today, not the perspective of the future when we might have electronic cars. Or at least that was my question, because I was like, wait, mate, if we have electronic cars, won't that change the entire thing? And he was like, basically, no, because where does the electricity come from? Does it come from, does it come from a clean source? Then yes. If it doesn't, like from well, I would say a nuclear power plant, but that doesn't give out any CO2 emission as far as I know. Could be that it does, but at least I don't think so. But that is like harming the environment in some other perspective, in some other way. But he was basically saying, well, if you have coal that you burn in order to generate electricity, you burn the coal, you boil the water or something. There's a process in there somewhere that I don't know of personally by myself. Oh yeah, now he's watching again. Oh yeah, Skype call. Interesting. Oh, I hope he looks away. Oh, he looks away. Good. I know I'm such a sissy when it comes to stuff like this. But anyway. Anyway, what it said was that instead of going down, it's just going to stagnate. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Because even if you drive a car that's electronic, you will have gotten that, that energy from somewhere, that electricity rather, from somewhere. And that's something that has generated the electricity, in general, have been producing some sort of CO2 emission when produced, or still does in order to produce electricity. So the ecological footprint will still be the same. Now, this is something that most corporation needs to take into account, because as he said, the way to do this, like to fix this problem, is just to have sustainable agriculture, transport, and all of that, where the social, the environmental, and the political kind of meet. And that looks super easy, but it's hella complicated. And I was just laughing my ass off, because I was like, oh yeah, that's actually true. Sounds kind of nice, doesn't it? This is the easy solution that's super hard to do. I was like, yeah, that's true. Well, probably not going to use this anymore. Well, might have it for the diagrams. Anyway, probably taking that away now. I can be all myself again. Yeah, that ego boost. Anyway, that's something that most corporations need to incorporate or need to think of, because this is something that has to do with political views and, well, social views and the environmental views, as I basically said before. But these are all players that are external players that are affecting different companies. So the better companies adjust to this, the earlier on they do it, the better they will be off, because it's generally a matter of time before the politics shift mainly towards being environmental in the perspective and in the focus. And when that happens, the average social aspect, the average consumer, will also have this input of the environmental thinking, like the environmental mindset. So all of that will be shifted, and then politics does. The environment won't change unless it's going to be less resources. That is because most of the resources has already been produced and reduced to waste, or proceeded, produced, processed to be waste. Anyway, but most the social, the consumer, the political views will be mainly focused on sustainability. Now, I won't say that will happen tomorrow. It is happening right now, but in a lesser extent. But I will think that it will ramp up in the future and will be even more of a focus for both politics and the average consumer and social trends. So the faster a corporation adapts to this, the better. And I do that because I'm on the internet. Yes, I won't have as big of a ecological footprint as I would as if I had an office. That's a good way of thinking about it, right? Right. Anyway, ending on a high note. Going to see if I survive the day without lunch because we don't have time for that because I'm going up really late in the morning. I went up at 11:30 today, so I only have myself to blame. Anyway, till next time, guys. Bye.